So common fails on the initial. Tom, you got something to contribute here. Kind of each of you take a couple, give us 3 or 4 that you're thinking that are common fails.
Well, I'll defer to you guys. Like Eric,
Would you have,
what are
Tom,
some common ones? If I get a unit ready and I'm saying, oh, this is great, I just spent a bunch of money rehabbing it. What are some things I'm probably overlooking that are pretty obvious fixes before the inspection?
Here's one that drives me nuts. Because there's a lack of consistency within the program, meaning with inspectors. So, you know, if Eric and Mark were the inspectors, they may have a different view on what they consider a tripping hazard. So, you know, a little piece of chip concrete, especially, you know, with the, Chicago has tough winters. You know, we have these concrete walkways and, you know, as water gets in there and expands, there's going to be little issues. There's things that I want from this program, and one of them is a little bit more consistency. So tripping hazards on the front walks, we've failed that enough times to know now that that's, regardless if the owner wants to do it, we have to get this done. Chip paint with kids under 6. That's a big fail. And then lack of understanding on where these smoke detectors have to go and carbons are pretty hot buttons as well.
So let's break all that down. So real quick, let's define what do you mean by kids under 6? Like for our listeners who haven't gone through this before, what's the difference there? Sure.
So I'll give you the high level. If you have a child, I believe it's 6 and under, okay. And they're listed on the voucher. The program takes a total different view on lead paint and chip paint, and there could be absolutely zero chip paint.
Okay, so much tougher inspection that you're looking at if the tenant has a child that's 6 or under.
Yeah, okay. It's drastically different.
Now you can't discriminate against that. Just so put that out there. You can't look at an application and say you have kids under 6. We can't take you. So just keep that in mind for everyone listening.
And I think it's not. I mean, the inspection's the same, but under 6, they're going to be more tedious, right? Like you got to make sure, the whole place, different colors, like the walls are not paint coming off and things like that. You just have to be more tedious in your initial walkthrough before that inspector comes through.
Yep.
I'll give you a real life example. This is about a month ago. We rehabbed a 2-flat over here on the southeast side. So this was like, gut, take the walls down, mechanicals, we put things back together, and we failed on the corner round that goes on the bottom of the floor that butts up against the trim. There was a gap that would, the inspector actually took out and it was a little thicker than a business card. It was like a credit card. And he's like, no, you can't have this gap here. That's a fail. Now, luckily, we had our maintenance guy there, tool bucket, caulk line, fixed it. But those are the things that kind of irk me with it. It's an easy fix, but that's what I mean about looking at the whole picture. Like we've just rehabbed the entire building, and I don't see too much of a hazard here with a gap in the floor. But those are the rules, and we got to play by them. So that's just a real life example. Because I don't want the listeners to think, chip paint, like what are you guys leasing, right? Like ceilings falling down. That's not what we're talking about here. This is much more like detailed.
For the sake of time, we're going to start rolling through some things because we got a couple more topics to do. But missing unit number on the door. That's a common fail that I see, and that's when the inspector catches right as he walks up. Hot water not working. Sometimes you just put a brand new hot water heater in and maybe the tank didn't fill up, and it might work, but the cold water is still coming out, or the gas wasn't on. If your gas isn't on, that's an automatic fail. If your electric's not on, that's automatic fail. Missing appliances when appliances are supposed to be there per the paperwork you filled out, and missing, like I said before, they got to be hooked up. Windows in the bathroom. Windows, you either have to have one or two things. You either have to have, they call them fart fans. I hate that when they say that, but the vents in the ceiling, the ventilation, exhaust fan, or a window that opens up. they're pretty big on outlets, making sure they're tight. That's something that's more common on the annual stuff.
Tight and grounded. You can test that beforehand.
Yes, grounded too. Then also anything pest holes, make sure all areas are all little things. Think about when you put that new vanity in, they got that little gap around the pipes underneath your sink. Like that's a fail right there if things can get through. Anything bigger than I was taught anything bigger than the size of a nickel, a mouse can fit through. So make sure your gaps are closed up. What else do you guys see? So we rattle them off here and we'll move on.
Sometimes if it's a brick building, the tuck pointing outside, it could just be something small, but they see it, right? Like, and sometimes and it's mostly on the chimneys, right? They'll just look at the chimney and, they can ding you for that. And you didn't even notice that. So
the other one, guys, windows. Make sure that your windows can open halfway through without falling down. Meaning if you lift the window up, it should stay if you were to lift it halfway up. They test that. I don't, depending on the inspector, they may not do all of them, but they're going to spot check, 2 to 4 of them every inspection. So sometimes on a rehab, right, you can put new windows in, they're a little sticky or it's a little loose. And, if that window were to go down, that would be a fail item. So pay attention to that.
Now, one of the hacks there is if you have 2 windows and you can't get it to close, you can nail that one shut, and as long as the other one opens up, you're good for that particular room to pass your inspection. So